Tyler Mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
Calling to order the Municipality of Monroeville's regular council meeting for Tuesday, February 14th. It is approximately 7 p.m. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, please.
Mayor Griesbach,
Here.
Mr. Hizzy,
Here.
Mr. Poach.
Here.
Mr. Stevenson,
Here.
Mr. Wolfram.
Here.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Biondo.
Here.
Mr. Little,
Here.
Mr. Ratcher,
Here.
Ms. Rock,
Here.
Mr. Hugus.
Here.
Mr. Sedlak.
Here.
Mr. Weldon.
Here. Welcome. We're to open the floor for public comment on proposed agenda items only. There will also be a comment period at the end of the meeting for any municipal item, but this period here is only for items that are on the agenda. This is for residents and taxpayers of Monroeville, and we are going to hold to a 5-minute time limit for your comments. We feel that's plenty of time for you to get your point across. And so the floor is open for public comment. If anyone would like to address council. There is a sign-up sheet. If you signed in before, great. If you haven't, you could just make sure your name is signed there. There's a pen should be sticking right there.
It is on this side.
It's sticking up.
Standing up.
It's standing straight up, no problem. And you can just take your time and sign your name and write your address there. And whenever you're done, if you could just state your name for the record. You do not have to say your address, but you could just say that you are a Monroeville resident.
Okay, my name, and I apologize for my voice. Sorry. My name is Tony Walker, and I live in Ward 4 in Monroeville. And
Welcome, Tanya.
I have nothing positive or negative to say toward the ordinance about feeding animals. But my question is, if you pass it, how will you enforce it? I mean, it's just my question, because I would hope you wouldn't enforce it like neighbor, and then, eye in the sky. I don't know. How would you enforce it?
Well, this is a comment period, so we will move along with our comments and we can answer your questions
Thank
at
you.
the end. Thank you. Does anyone else like to address council?
Good evening, Lois Drumhiller.
Welcome.
Hi. I have a follow-up question that I really do need an answer to. And the stuff that I have before you here is ordinance number 2669. It's passed in after Sustainable Monroeville at the time in 2018 tried to impart some expert advice in the form of a 12-page thing that we submitted to both Planning Commission and Council on the wisdom of having a well-written ordinance for oil and gas regardless where it was. And what 2669 did is put it where it needed to be as an industrial process, which is the opinion in the state of Pennsylvania that it is an industrial process to have oil and gas operations. When I was following the proposed zoning ordinance from the time that I caught up with Planning Commission and asked them their questions, I was very interested to find, I think I've already gone over this part, that I peeked over the shoulder and saw the map and the use table and see that ordinance number 2669 will be moot because looking at the map, oil and gas operations, I think, places compressor stations in M2, but it essentially takes out all the other operations and puts it in LF, which is a new zone to replace the conservancy zone that the landfill occupies. And it looks like the landfill has expanded. It's very difficult, though, I must tell you, when you're looking at two dark colors to distinguish these districts. The landfill looks like a huge district. I'm not sure whether or not that's expanded with this. But oil and gas operations certainly didn't belong there. And so all along, with the questions that I've been confronting Mr. Weldon with, and the Planning Commission, my ask to them was satisfied. My ask to them was, who made the decision to introduce these changes?
Well, Mrs.
that-
Drumheller, if you could, just for one moment. So
Yes.
This comment period is for agenda items?
Yes, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the proposed zoning ordinance.
Well, what's on the agenda this evening is a motion to authorize to advertise a public hearing for the revised updated zoning ordinance. So it's
Yeah,
for making a
keywords-
motion to advertise the zoning
Yeah,
ordinance. So if you want-
keywords being zoning ordinance.
Yeah, if you want to comment towards the advertisement part of what we're voting on, you can. However.
You've
you
got
can-
to be kidding.
No, this is the agenda period. You can certainly just wait till the other comment period for any agenda item.
I guess I may have to then, and
Yeah.
I will have a question, and this time I don't want to play hide the ball. I want an answer to that question.
We have two comment periods. I'll leave the floor open for
That was my
any comment. Welcome.
Well, thank you. My name is David Mintz, and I just actually hadn't necessarily planned to speak, but I just wanted to follow up on that. So to specifically go to, under motions B, number 2 on our agenda here for tonight, a motion to authorize to advertise a public hearing for the revised updated zoning ordinance. So a specific comment or question about that would be, I'm just curious, I don't know if it'll be explained later, but so I'm just going to ask now just in case. How will it be? Is it going to be not only electronic, but also in a physical form, like in the Monroeville Library or the municipal building itself? Like, what will the advertisement, what form will it take? So I guess that's my question, so that different people in the community have different choices on how to actually read it. And this is referencing actually putting it out there, right?
We're just authorizing this evening, council's considering to authorize the advertisement for the public hearing.
Oh, it's not to authorize the actual ordinance,
Correct.
usage table, and
It's just,
map
it's
to
just,
be
to- it's just to put in the Post-Gazette?
Correct.
The major publications to advertise that when the date and time we will have the meeting and have the hearing.
Okay. Also, then I guess follow-up question would be, how long before that hearing would all the information be available to the public to actually see? Like, my question was, I thought that's what this was going to be about, like when it was going to be all become public, but.
No, it's just
Okay.
the it's
No, I
just the
understand now, but,
advertisement, yeah.
okay, so well then when will it be, how far in advance of the meeting that we're going to advertise will the information be out there?
Do we,
Yeah, I mean, it will. Once it hits the newspaper, it's legally,
so,
once it hits the newspaper, it goes in, you can get a copy of it.
So
It'll be on our
once the
website.
advertisement for the public hearing is in the newspaper, then
Yeah, it
we have
becomes a
access
public-
to everything?
It becomes a public
Okay,
document.
and how-
You have a right to
Okay, great.
look at it.
Do you think it'll be electronic or physical or both? Do you know, or not? You don't know that?
It'll be
Like-
on the website.
Okay.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm
mean, like,
sorry,
will it
I
be
was
like
getting
on the
confused.
website,
So
will
you're
it
asking-
be at the library,
So the advertisement
will be
is
physical?
physical, and it's
Right.
advertised, Post-Gazette and major publications, but then, I guess you're asking about the
ordinance,
actual
yes,
ordinance
yes.
itself. Yes, that will be on the website, electronic, it'll probably be, we'll have, the library, we can probably have a copy of the
Yeah, we can have a
library.
copy down
Yeah,
the
some
library.
people might not be able to get to the
Copy of the
electronic.
building.
Yeah. How about the municipal building as well?
It'll be able to be reviewed here, absolutely.
You can have it reviewed here, you can get a copy.
Okay.
Pay 25 cents a copy, but I'm sure if it's on the website, you're not going to want to do that.
Sure, sure. Okay,
This
thank
is
you.
about 430 pages.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, thank you.
So that-
I'll leave the floor open for public comment on proposed agenda items only, please.
So I wasn't going to speak either, because my Valentine's at home. I didn't hear anybody laughing really out loud about that.
You're lucky.
too.
Yeah, ours are right, yeah.
Valentine's, sorry.
So,
So, yeah, I'm just curious about number 2. I have a lot of interest in that, and so the question is, when will the information be public?
Whenever the advertisement
Whenever
hits
the
the paper.
advertisement goes in the
And
paper.
how far ahead does the advertisement advertise the public hearing? What is the time frame between
Yes, the minimum
between
is,
the advertisement And when we come in here and discuss
It's
it
a
and
minimum
express
of
our
30
concern.
days.
And a max, so it has to be at least 30 days ahead.
Correct.
Between 7 and 30 for an ordinance.
Wait a minute.
Between 7 days and 7
isn't that-
days
is that
and 30
different than what
days.
you
Well,
said, Nick?
but our meetings are monthly, so it's, at the minimum would be a month, it'd be 30 days.
So
approximately.
I can quote you on that. We'll have 30 days to look at it, not 7 that the municipal manager just said.
No, Alyssa, what it is, any ordinance has to be advertised, it can't be advertised, and then all of a sudden you have to adopt it, which is your fear.
Okay.
Which is not gonna happen.
I don't have any
I'll put-
fear. I'm
Tomorrow,
fearless.
I'll have my secretary put the ad in the paper, and as soon as it hits the paper Sunday or next week, you can get a copy.
Okay, so it's coming right up.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Well, no,
you'll
the
get a
advertisement's
copy.
coming right up. We talked about this at the work session on last Tuesday. The earliest we would have a public hearing would be, Mr. Wielden?
April 4th.
April 4th would be the
Yeah.
earliest we'd have the hearing. We're going to be advertising it probably the next few days when it finally hits the Post-Gazette. But the first meeting, what we feel we'll be able to do is
And so you've been working
April.
on it for how long? And we have at least 60 days to look at it. I'm just curious about that. I'll leave that a rhetorical question.
Thank you. I'll leave the floor open for public comment on any agenda item. We're going to close that public comment period. And Mr. Little, you have an announcement.
Yeah, I've started a program, not a program, but a thing here in Monroeville. Anytime we hire a new employee, I have them come to the next council meeting if their schedule permits it. And I'd like to introduce Tracy Sharpley. She has not actually taken Darlene's place, but Paula has, and then she's moved into Paula's place, and she's been with us now for about a month? Okay, and you just want to stand up so everybody, so a lot of times the council members, they don't come into the office that much, so now they can put a name with a face, okay?
Welcome, Tracy. Thank you.
You were, just to give you a little background, you were a manager at a Big Lots, and then you were, I don't have your resume in front of me.
Retail management for many, many years.
Many years in retail. Okay, all right, so she comes very qualified, and she's doing a good job, from what Josie says. Okay, well, just wanted to introduce you to everybody. Okay.
Welcome.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Council, I have an executive session announcement. The council conducted an executive session before Citizens Night on Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, from 6:15 to approximately 7 p.m. for personnel and litigation reasons. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the tonight, February 14th, 2023 council meeting. Council, approval of the minutes that you reviewed at last Tuesday's meeting. We are considering the Citizens Night meeting of January 3rd, 2023, the council agenda-setting meeting of January 3rd, 2023, and the regular council meeting of January 10th, 2023 for those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, there is a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Reports of the tax collections. Is there a motion to
Motion to
approve?
approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
The ayes have it. List of bills and budget transfers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Questions or comments? Council. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
The ayes have it. And the payroll report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, moving over to our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. Mr. Biondo, I'll start with you this evening. Anything?
Yes, Scott Gallagher for the, this would be an appointment to the Recreation and Parks Advisory Board.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I have an appointment to the Planning Commission, Curtis Lewis Burke.
That's a motion to appoint. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
This would be a nomination for the Convention Visitors Bureau. That'd be Craig Koza.
Second.
Okay, nomination, that's good.
And a nomination for the Finance Authority, Tim Joyce.
Nomination, very good. Anything else, Mr. Biondo?
That's all.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. Williams?
I have none.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Wolfram?
Have one. I have a nomination for Amy Capera for the Monroeville Finance Authority. It's a
Very-
nomination.
Very good. She is nominated. Any
That-
other
That is also.
this evening? Very good. Mr. Stevenson?
Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, John Washington, appointment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Anything else, Mr. Stevenson?
No, that's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Poach?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hizzy?
Nothing either, sir.
Very good.
Good parliamentary evening, that's very good.
Council, moving over to our consent agenda, new business. We're starting with 23-1-SUB, Head First Consolidation. Mr. Little.
Okay, applicant is requesting a preliminary and final subdivision approval to consolidate Lot 642E315 and Lot 642E335 into one lot with a total acreage of 8.519 acres. The property are located at 575 Thomas Street in the R2 one-family residential zoning district. Planning Commission recommends approval of this application.
Council, is there a
Fifth Ward.
Make a motion to approve.
Seconded.
motion, a second to approve? Questions or comments?
It's your second, Thomas Street, sorry.
Yeah, I was reading it.
Sorry, Joe, sorry.
Hearing none, we have a motion, a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram. Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next item, Mr. Little.
Okay, next one is Gateway School District. Applicant is requesting site plan approval to construct a hard surface for the school band to practice on. Sidewalks and sidewalks in an above-ground stormwater management pond are to be constructed as part of the project, and the practice surface shall be a green design using permeable pavement. Property is located at 9,000 Gateway Campus Boulevard and known as tax parcel ID 857D309 in the R2 one-family residential zoning district. Planning Commission recommends approval to this application. Council had some questions on this. I assume you're representing the school district.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Welcome. If you could just state your names for the record,
Yeah.
please.
Christy Mitchell with JT Sauer and Associates.
Hello.
And Jonathan Schaefer with JT Sauer and Associates.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Yeah, and Council, I did speak to School Board President Jack Bova and Dr. Short, Superintendent. Their building, Director of Building and Grounds is out, and that's what part of the issue was, why they weren't here last Tuesday. And thankfully, they sent you because they didn't think they were going to make it up here because they have another meeting this evening going on at the same time. So thanks for coming out here tonight. So the floor is yours.
So what we're looking at here is the project site for the Gateway School District. It's the paved band practice area. Currently, the existing conditions is it's a grass-covered playing field. And what the school is looking to do is.
Yeah, we got it now.
We're getting there.
Move it, but-
There
Is that better?
There you go.
The school is looking to actually designate a place for the band to practice, other than an existing parking lot. So they're looking to pave and depict a football field in this area. You have an access drive to the south, also an ADA access walk to get down to the field. We have a storm pond on the lower half of the site, and due to recommendations from zoning was to add the sidewalk that goes around the outside of the boundaries. With the school district, the original was for the pervious pavement for the practice area. After looking at the budget, with the new added sidewalk, the client has requested to see if we can do impervious in order to offset those costs.
Okay. Council, any questions? Mr. Williams?
I have a question. Above-ground stormwater management, how is water going to run into a pond that's above ground?
So the site is graded in a way that the water will flow directly from that parking lot right into that storm pond.
Okay?
And
So it will be lower than the field?
yes,
Okay.
yep. It's kind of probably hard to see on the screen there, but if you see the elevations, you'll see that there is a lower elevation there for the water to flow into the pond.
It's hard to see since
you.
it's 2D, but up to the north, you're looking at about 16 feet difference in elevation to the field, and then about 6 from the west, and then the storm pond is lower than that.
Is that field going to be trenched to cause water to go down there, or is it just going to be normal runoff on the field?
Yes, it'll be just normal runoff.
Thank you.
Yep.
Council, any other questions?
Yeah, about the manhole, it was between the third baseline and the second baseline. You guys raising that?
Yes, yep.
You found it?
Well, the plan is for the contractor to find it, yes.
Okay.
And then
I
you
know
guys
they
will have.
lowered it multiple times in the field so many times.
Yep, and then you guys will have a better idea where it's at as well. And will be accessible as well, so.
Yeah,
Very good.
And I'm sorry, could you go back to the drawing again, please, Jared? And then, I was watching for the sidewalks again, but I just wanted to see them. Thanks. So you have the ADA compliant from Gateway Campus Boulevard. It's north of the field. It comes down to it. And then, I'm sorry, could you depict what else you discussed? Again, please.
Right here, there's going to be a walk along the outside.
And that follows the roadway essentially.
Yeah,
Correct. So
right.
any kind of pedestrian circulation, they can get from one end to the other, since there is no sidewalk currently.
And to Mr. Walton, that fits the sidewalk ordinance?
Correct, it does.
Okay.
The question we had at Planning Commission was the Planning Commission, they had asked if they could phase in the sidewalk construction. So I don't know if that's still the plan, or now that you're going to use standard asphalt instead of pervious asphalt, it's just gonna be built.
Yeah, we looked at the different options. It seemed like that would be the best request for today.
So there's no phasing, it's just
No
gonna be
phasing.
constructed.
That's good.
Yeah, and speaking with, like I said, I was speaking to Dr. Short and Mr. Bova, they both understand the importance of sidewalks in that area for the campus, for the school, and for the apartments that are nearby and the library, so it makes sense to do it all now, so we appreciate them making sure that's done.
Doesn't quite go up and connect to the,
Library?
yeah, could we, well, I'm actually, the parking lot borders it, I think, partially. Could we go back to the drawing again, please, Jared? So I guess it would be east, going east from the
Sidewalk
top.
goes all the way over to the library entrance road.
That's, okay, that was the question. I'm trying to see if we
Yeah,
can.
And then
might
the
be
sidewalk
cut
picks
Got
up
it.
on the library property.
Right,
Yes.
okay, so
Chrissy,
that
can
was,
you slide that over so they can see
just
it
slide
on
it
the
just
monitor
a
where it
little bit
connects
here.
to the driveway? Oh, it's cut off anyhow.
Yeah, that's where
Okay.
the view ends.
Sure.
But right here is where the library would connect.
We might
It's
be
great that it
better- A little
completes
better
it.
there.
That's a lot easier.
well,
Yep.
nothing like Google Earth, thank you. Okay, yeah, that was the question, that's great, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, and then from that angle, Mr. Hizzy, you said it was between, where was that manhole, between what, second and third? Is that
Third base.
Second and
Okay,
third
tell
base.
the contractor.
You guys laugh, we
Mark
used
it
to
on
run
there.
around it all the time playing ball.
That's the official benchmark.
Yeah. Actually, give it to him, have him put an X on it, and then give it to the
I
contractor.
put it out there and walk out.
And I think, I think it's actually like the third time that this field's been raised, to be honest with you,
okay.
from, I'd say back in our day, but when it's substantially lower, actually. And this is the second or third time that was put into place too, so.
Great, council, any other questions
I have
for?
one more question.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
This sidewalk will be street level? Will it be a curb sidewalk, not a painted sidewalk on the street?
It will be a new sidewalk, yeah, adjacent to the road with a curb.
Be behind the guardrail or in front of it?
We do have it proposed behind the guardrail.
Oh, look, this makes it better.
Yep.
That's great.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Great, thank you.
Very good, so I'd like to seek a motion on this
I'll
item.
make a motion
To approve?
to
Second.
approve.
We have,
David has a question.
Oh.
Is there a second?
we allowed to ask a question?
not at this time, we have motion and a second to approve this item. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson?
No.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Hizzy?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Council, moving over to our motions, we have 5 this evening. Mr. Little.
Okay, a motion to place a full-page advertisement in the amount of $125 in the program for the Gateway High School musical Mamma Mia.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next item.
Okay, a motion authorized to advertise a public hearing for the revised update of the zoning
Motion
ordinance.
to approve.
Motion to second.
We have a motion second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, a motion to approve the property acquisition for the Tricog Land Bank for the property located at Willow Drive, lot and block number 640K 118.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next motion.
Okay, a motion to enter into an agreement with Public Partners Consultant to perform a municipal manager search.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
The ayes have it. And our last motion, Mr. Little.
Okay, a motion to authorize to advertise an ordinance to permit the municipality to enter into a land lease with Pittsburgh SMSA Limited Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless pursuant to Section 501H of the Home Rule Charter for the lease of 100 by 100 parcel of property and associated easements at the Monroeville Public Safety Training Center for the construction of wireless communication tower facility.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Question. How
Oh,
long
sorry,
this
Mr.
lease
Adams.
for?
I'm sorry, Mr.
How
Adams.
long would the lease be for?
It would be for periods of 5 years up to, I believe, 25 or 30 years. In 5-year tranches.
They're paying 5 years
At a time.
ahead
Yeah,
of time?
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, council?
That's a good question. I didn't think about it.
Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Hizzy.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, moving over to our resolutions, we have one this evening. Mr. Little.
A resolution adopting the Campbell Sewage Planning Module.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? I'll just say all these items were discussed at the February 7th agenda-setting meeting. We have a motion and a second to approve.
Mr. Hizzy.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Mr. Poach.
Aye.
Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram.
Aye.
Mr. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Biondo.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving to our ordinances, we have one this evening. Mr. Ratcher.
An ordinance of the Municipality of Monroeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, prohibiting the feeding of wild animals and providing penalties for violation of such regulations. This matter is on the table, so your first action, if you don't want to leave it on the table, is to take it off the table.
Council, my recommendation is that we leave this item tabled for further
I'd
consideration.
make a motion to
Well, you-
keep
No,
it
don't
on the
motion
table.
anything yet.
There's no need to do
No,
anything.
anything to do anything.
Then we don't-
Unless anyone wants to entertain this, that's when you make a motion, but if you agree with me in leaving it tabled, then we take no action and it stays where it's at.
Yes.
Is everyone?
Would it be
No,
better
that's what
to
I'm
take it
hearing.
off the agenda until further notice?
We could make that,
Just leave it for now.
Yeah.
we could leave it for now, or we could take it off, or we could leave it for now and then take it off at next month's meeting, or
Leave it, Mike.
Okay.
Why don't we leave it? We're gonna leave it.
We'll leave it.
leave it for now? That's
Leave
what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Okay, moving over to reports of our municipal staff. Mr.
Nothing
Ratcher.
tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Little.
I have no report, except one thing you have in front of you is that, as we have had for a yearly, we are now a banner community, according to Allegheny League of Municipalities, which is an annual citation that we get from Allegheny League of Municipalities, and I gave a copy of that to Mr. Funk. It'll be in the paper whenever, I would assume. Okay, I don't know that, I would assume. Okay, so that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Hugus.
No, sir.
Ms. Rock.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor for public comment on any municipal item. Once again, this is for residents and taxpayers, and we ask that you keep your comments to a 5-minute time period, and this is a comment period. If there's anyone who'd like to address council on any municipal item, now would be your chance to do so.
I've already signed in.
You already signed in.
Lois Drumhiller. Okay, let me pick this up and try to make this concise. It is a question that had to do with the proposed language use table map for the zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission, when I approached and asked where these changes came from, I asked them whether anybody on the Planning Commission put anything into those changes, made any of those suggestions that would have resulted from the M2 zone being the primary zone for oil and gas operations, every single component of it, which is also the ordinance I told you was 2669, to changing it to what I saw with my eyes on the map, which was LF, which is the landfill, which will be called the landfill. Currently, I think it is, what, S Conservancy or Special? And then the other Conservancy, which is all of our green space, being the other zoning district. So as a conditional use, if one institution wanted to put any part of a oil and well operation, they could do it on the landfill under a conditional use, or they could do it in all of the S Conservancy spaces, which is all of our green space, which on the map is hard to see. So anyway, that was very important that I found out if this was due to the Planning Commission. Normally, the Planning Commission has a process but they didn't use it this time. They had an outside group come in, a consulting group, Strategic Solutions. So that's when I went to Mr. Weldon, who promised me to get back with the answer as to whether or not it was, who was behind the changes. He told me at the time it was not Strategic Solutions. So no one on the Planning Commission made these suggested changes. Mr. Weldon, did you make the suggested planning
Well, Lois, this is a
changes?
comment period. If you could direct your comments
Mr.
to me.
Mayor, would you please ask Mr. Weldon
Well,
whether
this
or
is
not
a,
that came
this is
from
a,
him?
I'm not going to ask Mr. Wilden anything. This is a comment period.
So
Well, let me,
the-
can I make a suggestion?
No,
I'll
I
make-
think I'd like to finish my statement here.
No, I'm going to give you plenty of time, and I'll give you, I'm using some time right now, and I will give it back to you, I promise. But can I make a suggestion of maybe if you could give a comment of what you think would be, how would you like to see it? Because we want to get
Oh, would
comment.
I like to see the changes?
Yeah, what would you suggest? I think council would like to hear to get resident feedback of what.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's,
Yeah.
I think that'd be
Sure,
more
and that's all
productive
the process
as
of the
far as-
public hearing, I would imagine, yes.
It certainly will be, and you
Yes.
can certainly, and I would encourage you to come back to that to make those comments. But if you want to make comments about what you think should be.
Well, I
and how-
certainly can do that, but my question was a very simple one, and I put this question to both you, Mr. Mayor, and you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Little said that I need not bother to ask this question, that he could handle all of my questions. And so I sent Mr. Little 2 separate emails asking him who introduced these changes that would take 2667, where oil and gas operations are in M2 or heavy industrial zones, and put them in areas that are our green spaces and our landfill. And he did not answer me, and you did not answer me. You did not answer me the last time I asked this question, was not last Tuesday because I wasn't here, but it was last month. And you assured me that at the end of the meeting you would, and of course I did not receive that answer. I talked to you off camera, I talked to both of you off camera. So I didn't get an answer then, and I didn't get an answer through email from Mr. Little. So I'm asking you now to please, you know, there are at least 2 people here behind the dais that understand the answer to this question. Who introduced the changes that brought oil and gas operations out of the M2 zone and put it into the LF and the green space conservancy zone? Who made those changes?
You know?
I do not have that answer, but this is a comment period.
Well,
But what I would like to do is
I don't know
certainly
why.
we're going to have a public hearing, and we're also going to have multiple meetings before this is approved. And what I certainly want is to have public input on where you think it should be, or what, and that's why this whole process is happening the way it wants to be. I agree with you. I want to make sure this is done right, but I do not have the answer of where it began or where it came
Well,
from.
let's go around. Mr. Ratcher, do you have an
This-
answer?
I'm not giving an answer unless I'm directed to.
This is,
But I can tell you it wasn't me. I know that's what you're looking for, but you're
I don't
looking up the
believe you know
wrong
what
tree.
I'm looking for.
No, I think you're into conspiracy theories.
I beg your pardon.
That's what I think.
Okay, that's subjective.
He
That's
is
not a
definitely a
very
subject-
No,
objective
it's
thing to say.
subjective. It's subjective. It's my opinion. That's what I'm telling you.
and he's
Okay.
entitled to that, absolutely. And if we could
Okay.
just stay on course with the comment, we have a few more seconds here because I did use some of your time originally. We're well
Yes,
past
yes,
5
yes.
minutes.
Well, I know that you've had plenty of time to answer this. I've asked my member of council. I have asked the manager, who said he would be happy to answer this question. You've had plenty of time to answer that question. And I have given you more than enough time to answer that question.
And I've given you more than enough time for your comment period, so the
Well,
next
I'm
person
still
will be up.
waiting for my answer.
So David, do you want to address council? Your 5 minutes is up, Ms. Drumhiller.
I'm aware of that.
It's time for you to sit down.
I'm aware of that.
I'm waiting for the next speaker. So if you could please take a seat, otherwise an officer is going to escort you from the room.
Oh, I'm aware of that as well.
Making a YouTube video.
Make a motion to close the public comment period.
Well, wait a minute, I would like to make.
Seems to be.
Well, in deference to the inability and the unwillingness to be truthful, I'll
It's a
defer.
comment, it's a comment period.
Yeah, well, I think the public is entitled to answers.
This is better than I thought tonight. So I don't know which question to ask first.
This is a comment period.
Comment.
I don't know what to comment on first. I think that the motion, or I don't know the proper language, about the permeable pavement, I was real excited about that, so I don't think you voted on what was written here, so I would question that. That's one comment for my comment period. Another is, I'm just curious if, who Public Partners Consultants is. So I'm curious about that.
Concerning the search for the manager?
Yes.
I can help you with that, Dr. Beck, if you don't, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Can we let Dr. Beck have her own
I'm sorry.
comment period, and then
Sure.
then we can get her the answer?
Sure.
So just, we don't want to use up your time, so if you could just go on with your
Go
comments.
ahead.
Yeah, and so another thing that I'm interested in, and I've not brought this up because we haven't had, as the public, an opportunity to look at the zoning ordinance, but I'm really concerned about where 5G might be placed based on new changes to the zoning ordinance. And then I have a fourth thing that is escaping me right now. So I'm going to sit down, maybe somebody else will comment, and then it'll come to me, or when you comment, it'll come back to me. I decided not to bring a pencil tonight, and I'm testing my memory, but number 4 disappeared.
Should have asked, let me give you one.
Are you done with your comments?
Yeah, well, for right this minute, I am.
Well,
But I
everybody
didn't-
gets one period, because we have other people who want to speak as well. We want to keep the
So
meeting
you weren't
moving
going to
ahead.
say anything now?
No,
If you're done with
either
your
now or in
comments,
my
yeah.
report, it's the same time, either where I was.
He's
gonna
doing your
mention it.
report. Why don't you do your
I can do it in my report. I'll answer you in your report.
Okay, if I
anyway.
think of something else in my other minute that I have, I'll be back. Okay, I had to turn around and walk back. There was, as we all know, a really horrible accident in East Palestine, Ohio, where a train that had some very volatile organic compounds, polyvinyl chloride, spilled and was burned off. And I think most of us understand that those trains are passing really close to here. And so I'm just wondering what the emergency response is. Should a train like that kind of unload, like down at the bottom of the hill, at the bottom of Haymaker, for example? Yeah, that was the last thing. Thank you.
I'm already signed in, David Mintz. And I would hope that, even though it says on our agenda, public comments, that that's inclusive of questions. I mean, it seems like we were getting a little caught up in just comments and questions. I don't know if we're, I mean.
No, it's always been, it's a public comment
Right.
period.
I
So
mean,
it's
that-
time for you to address council. It's not
Right.
time for council to answer. They don't have, no one is, as far as the way the home rule charter
Mhm.
is written, council does not have to answer.
Sure,
It's
but we
for
can
public-
pose questions for thought. I mean, that's.
Absolutely. Oh,
I mean, that's kind of a
absolutely.
comment, a question, you
Yeah,
know what
but
I
as
mean.
far as, there's nothing that warrants staff to have to answer.
Right.
This isn't, testimony back and forth. It's a time for the residents and the public to give comment to.
Sure. Okay, I
council.
understand it. And I just, I know most of the council's changed since I began speaking to council. Mr. Poach was here and you were here, Mr. Mayor. But just to say that in the past, I can say that in all the times I used to come up and comment or question, it was a different procedure. And it wasn't that long ago, maybe 2018, 2019, I thought we engaged in some pretty good conversation where I would say something and you would answer, rather than holding it all to the end and then, but it did change somewhere during the time period that I've been coming up here. I mean, it certainly did. We used to, I would ask a question, maybe somebody would answer, and then it turned into, we can all make our comments and then some of them are answered at the end, or like some are commented on at the end. So I'm just saying it did change. So I just
It's
want
a
to move on.
public comment period, and that's what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, the process did change. I mean, it clearly did at one point. I just wanted to make that comment. I mean, but it clearly did. So I want to comment, so I'll make a comment on two things. One is that I'm also interested in it's almost like a procedural comment, in that the vote tonight on the practice field for the band really was not on what was written here. I mean, I noticed that too. If it said here that surface shall be green, designed using permeable pavement, and the planning commission recommends approval of this application, and then the people that came up said, well, we were asked to change this, and then everybody just voted on it without even asking a question about that. So I don't know if that's a comment that will be addressed later by legal or manager, but that it really wasn't, the vote wasn't on what was on here. So I don't know if that's a procedural thing that needs to be looked at, because it is different than what was on here. So my other comment, and I guess later, hopefully, we'll comment on that. The other comment is that I also agree strongly that, and as you know, I have been speaking about this subject for at least, 6, 7 years. I personally also, my comment would be that I would also think that the public is entitled probably to know why the changes were made to an ordinance that the previous council, except Mr. Poach was part of that council. The previous council that voted, I think you were, maybe you weren't, that voted on the ordinance that was mentioned earlier that did relegate our oil and gas activity to M2 heavy industrial, and that, I mean, that's the law of the land in Monroeville right now, and that is an ordinance. And the proposed changes in the draft ordinance that are coming up that we do know about change that to not only M2 industrial, just so the public understands, but also as a conditional use in the new landfill zone. It's going to be called, rather than S1 Conservancy, which, according to the updated map that's part of the draft, is a larger zone that contains the landfill than the currently contains the landfill, which is S1 Conservancy. As well as was mentioned earlier, all of the S Conservancy green areas of Monroeville also as a conditional use for the oil and gas. So it will be changing the law of the land, the ordinance that was voted on and passed by our council to keep it in M2 heavy industrial, to now include M2 heavy industrial, a new zone called LF landfill, which is bigger than what contains the landfill now, as well as S Conservancy, which is all the green areas of Monroeville. That's a big change. And I was at all the planning commission meetings as well, and the planning commission said they didn't do it. We were told the strategic solutions didn't do it. So it came from somewhere, we just don't know where. But to your point on that, I mean, I would like to know, but to comment on what I would like, yes, as what you were saying, what I would like, and I know many other people would like just from talking to people, is that we would keep the ordinance that we have now as part of the new updated Monroeville Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, that a process, hydraulic fracturing, which is a heavy industrial process, and zoning is all about proper use in a proper zone, that we keep that process and all of its associated activities, including compressor stations, injection wells for the waste, and all of these kind of things, stays in M2 industrial. I don't know who proposed it, but I don't know, a bigger question for me would be even why it would be proposed to change. We settled this we talked about it, we discussed it, the council voted on it, it was a done deal, it's the law, as it is, as I speak right now in Monroeville, and now it's being proposed to change, and nobody knows where it came from, or at least nobody's telling us, but why change it so that this process is potentially closer to homes, businesses, schools, everything else in Monroeville, all the residents, and all the pollution that comes with it, and all the activity, the truck traffic. So I'm not sure if we're gonna change such a drastic thing that's already the law. I would really ask that we not change that. So that's my.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a proper comment, thank you. I'll leave the floor open for public comment on any municipal item. Hearing none, we're going to close the comment period and move over to reports of our council members. Mr. Hizzy.
One thing, I wish my wife a happy Valentine's Day. She's a little upset I'm here, but she'll get over it.
Probably not over that.
Oh, yes, she will. Been married a long time.
Can I close your comment period, Mr. Hizzy? Okay, thank you. Mr. Poach.
We could throw dirt on top of them. Yeah, again, happy Valentine's Day to my wife. She knows that I'm here.
Yes, she
knows.
does.
Here, too. I was going to start off with, to answer Dr. Beck's question, it was actually in another way, it was on my list, just to continue to announce, I believe we mentioned it last Tuesday in the press, too. So, regrettably, Mr. Little's considering retirement as well. The group that's engaged there is part of our membership in the League of Municipalities. We have access to some of they have some other services to do that. One of the things that group does is help conduct executive searches for senior leadership in municipal government posts. So that's who we've engaged right now to do that, to conduct a proper, search for, and that was the purpose of that ordinance tonight, for search for municipal manager. It's not going to happen for a while yet. Tim's not going away just yet, but it gives us plenty of time, to begin the process too, before the end of the year. Okay, that's who that is. Yeah, to that. So, other than that, that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Poach. Mr. Stevenson.
I have
But
nothing.
I made a lot of notes, Dr. Beck. So there's one question I have to find out too that I don't want to speak out of turn on.
You're good. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I seen your conversation. Would you like Mr. Little to?
Mr. Little, you have? Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I have a comment with Dave and Lois mentioned about the question of why the oil and gas zoning ordinance was changed. Lois, you mentioned you asked me a question through an email. You did. And for the benefit of the public, I answered your question. And you just don't like the answer I gave you. Now, here is my answer, and I'm going to tell the public what I told you. I don't know who changed, and quite frankly, it's up to the Planning Commission in the process. The democratic process is you come to the Planning Commission and you ask the Planning Commission questions and vetting out the same grievances that you have right now. Now, if you don't like what the Planning Commission has passed on to the council, you can ask them, and you said you asked them, why was this changed? And you said, or Dave, you said, they don't know. And I'm sure you expressed your dissatisfaction with that. And if you didn't ask them, well, if you don't know, do you agree with this? And if they didn't, then that is up to them to pass what they think is the best thing for this community, to pass it along to this council. Now, as a responsible citizen, your responsibility is to come to the hearing and then to establish, to get it on record, and it's on record tonight in the minutes, but even in the hearing. So if for some reason it goes, there's a lawsuit or it goes to court, it's on record. So that hearing is very, very important for you to come there and to voice that opinion. And if you are dissatisfied with where the oil and gas is located, to tell council about it and to tell the public about it. That is your opportunity. So it's moot who put it in there. What is important is that the Planning Commission passed it along. It's the Planning Commission who approved it. And that was my answer to you. And you don't like that answer, but that's the answer. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Mr. Wolfram.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. just like to wish all the people out there, I will not be gender, I would just wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to my wife.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
I wish everybody in the public a happy Valentine's Day. Don't eat too much chocolate. It makes your face break. The other thing is, to answer your concern about the landfill, that landfill has a double liner with sensors between the liners for leakage. And if they leak, they gotta dig it up and fix it. I don't think that they can drill through that liner for any reason at all. And that's not a legal opinion, but I don't believe that they would be allowed through the EPA or whoever to drill a hole down through that liner. So your concern about that is no concern at all, I don't believe.
They drill from the side, not from the
This is council members' comment.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Biondo?
Yeah, for what it's worth, that is an issue that I plan on addressing, bringing up with Strategic Solutions, and anybody else who can speak to it is the why it's being taken out of M2 Industrial. I'm not saying that, we can pass a change. I'm saying that that's something that I'm going to address with Strategic Solutions. Happy Valentine's Day to my wife and my kids. Both turned 3 yesterday. Happy birthday, Gio, and happy birthday, Addie. And that's all I have.
Great. Happy birthday to them. And yes, to piggyback on what Mr. Biondo said, that yes, and Mr. Little mentioned as well, whenever during the public hearing, when it comes up, I mean, these are the kind of things that we want to hear about from the public and changes that the public wants to see. And as of now, there are no changes. It currently still, as David was talking about, in the M2 industrial zone as per our ordinance. But this certainly is a document that we're going to be going over for quite some time. As we mentioned earlier, the advertisement's going to be going into the paper shortly. We will be having the public hearing probably at the April meeting is what we believe. It could even be later than that. But certainly, there's been a lot of time and effort put towards this item. It's an important ordinance to pass. And not just because of this one item, for many items. It's a very important document for the Municipality of Monroeville. Hasn't been updated in many, many years, so we want to make sure we do it right and do it the right way and do it with the help of the public as well. As far as the voting on the school district's space that they were here presenting about, the field, we vote on the plan that's submitted, the language may be a little bit different, but what we're actually approving is the plan, and that's what we did this evening, so there's no issues with that, and we look forward to their project over there on Gateway Campus Boulevard. And I also want to wish my wife happy Valentine's Day. And with that, I want to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night.